Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Join hosts Dan Melnick and Qasim Masood as they explore big ideas, limitless possibilities, and engage with visionaries, entrepreneurs, and thought leaders who dare to dream big, get inspired, motivated, and find practical tips for personal growth. Think big, dream bigger, and ignite your potential.
Welcome to Think Big with Dan and Qasim. Our guest today is Chris. So Chris, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, tell us where you live and what you do.
So my name is Chris Annoual. I'm the co-founder of Binge Snacks. Binge Snacks is a better-for-you snack brand, and we're just trying to create the best tasting, healthiest snack in the world.
So I'm just curious about your story. Like, how did you kind of get into this? Have you always been an entrepreneur? If you can just share with our audience more about your background.
Yeah, I've always been an entrepreneur. This is my first time in the snack space or the food space, CPG. But I essentially got into this because my wife was diagnosed with an autoimmune condition and she couldn't eat anything. Like one day she was eating eggs, the next day she was allergic. So it kind of prompted us to do a lot of research and see, what holes can we fill in the market? Like what product is the world looking for? Like what can we create that people actually want? And that led us to Binge Snacks. So we're creating essentially a better for you version, like one of our childhood favorite snacks. And we're just trying to do our part in recreating something healthy.
Awesome. So I'm just curious more if you can share with our audience, like what are the types of snacks? Like, how is it better for you about like just some of the ingredients that Binge Snacks has versus obviously that there's many snacks in the market that don't have clean ingredients. So I'm curious about that.
Yeah, so our hero product is essentially, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Dunkaroos, but it's a better for you Dunkaroo. So it's a cookie and a frosting snack pack, and it has low sugar. We use natural sugars, natural sweeteners, none of the bad stuff. It's high in protein, it's high in fiber, and there's no additives in it. We're not using any toxic additives or anything that would make you feel sick. It has to be healthy for my wife to be able to eat it. Like one of the problems that we had was anything that she would eat would make her sick. So we had to find a product that was safe for her, was tested by her, and if she could eat it, then it has to be healthy. So that's kind of our North Star.
So in terms of your products, I guess like as of right now, I think we just briefly spoke on the call that you were in Canada and now in Miami. So where do you guys kind of sell your products today?
Well, right now we're pre-launch, so we're still a startup. We are planning to launch them in Miami. Year one, we're going to do D2C, so just online, Amazon, TikTok, Shopify. And then in year two, we'll start talking to retailers and see where's our space, where's our fit in the market.
So in terms of like getting this product out in the market and getting in front of people, I guess like when are you guys like looking to launch this? Like maybe sometime this year? Do you have like a month or date in mind? And I guess once you do officially launch, like, can you just give like a deeper dive to our audience about like your strategy?
Yeah, so if everything goes well, which, CPG, things don't always go well, we want to launch sometime in November. That's kind of our target launch date. How we plan on going to the market, like our go-to-market strategy, we really want to utilize micro influencers. So we want to find people that are like really aligned with our brand. So think of like anywhere between 5,000 to 50,000 followers. That's really a micro influencer, and just see them product, like gift them products and just have our actual target audience try it. We also are planning on having a really like aggressive sampling strategy. So we're going to give out a lot of just free samples to people that really want like the brand, like the products. And then like our goal is to really just build an organic founder-led, story behind our brand. Like these days, like CPMs are really expensive. Facebook marketing, advertising has become it's on an all-time high now. It's really hard to buy your customer. So our goal is to really earn our customer. And by earning a customer, we do that with telling our story online, getting in front of the camera, talking about our journey, talking about our mission, like why we're creating Binge Snacks, the purpose behind it, and then just give it to gift product to people that are going to go out there and spread the word about the product. And that only works when you have a good product. You can't just gift a product that doesn't taste good or it doesn't have good branding. So, all those buckets have to be filled before we could launch. And that's what we're doing right now.
So some more so handing out samples, doing farmers markets, I guess, things like that, kind of capturing the market like in Miami where you live now and making sure people there get a chance to like try your product and give you feedback.
Yeah, essentially that's what we're doing. But not just Miami, we're really going to launch just online. We just want people, it doesn't matter where you live, everybody's had Dunkaroos before. So our goal is to just kind of like reactivate, like the inner Dunkaroo lover. If you think about products like Chomps, they recreated Slim Jims. And as a kid, I used to love Slim Jims. Like that was one of my favorite snacks. But as an adult, I grew up and I started realizing that the ingredients in those products aren't good. And then I saw Chomps one day and I was like, oh wow, they're kind of like recreating, like they're reactivating that Slim Jim lovers. That's essentially what we're doing for Dunkaroos. A lot of people stop eating them because they're not healthy. They're high in sugar, they have just bad additives. So we're just recreating the product and we're putting what we wanted in it from the very beginning. And that's what we're doing.
So was it a product, like how did you kind of formulate it? Did you do like in your kitchen? Did you find like a partner that helped you come up with it? Like what did you kind of do to like, come up with this first sort of prototype?
Yeah, so we started in our kitchen. Like we really tried our hardest to formulate ourselves in the kitchen. You would think something as simple as a cooking or frosting is easy to formulate, but there's actually a lot of food science behind it. There's like different pouring temperatures, different mixing temperatures. There's different temperatures that you need to bake it at, for it to crystallize in the way that we need the ingredients to crystallize. So there's just so many things that we just didn't know, how to do it. Like we made it and it tasted pretty good. Then we brought it to an actual food scientist, and then we were just walking down a dead end. But we got the initial concepts, like down packed in our kitchen. And then when we get to a food scientist and they actually got the food science, the actual science behind the formula, that's when we realized we really had something because we created a really, really healthy product and it tastes unhealthy. And that's kind of what we're going for.
That's awesome. So in terms of like your background, I think that from my understanding, you've been in advertising and marketing and DTC space in the past, and that's kind of why it seems like you're going with this strategy. So what is your angle with the product? You kind of mentioned like the healthier Dunkaroos. Are you going to focus, like you said, TikTok, organic, paid media? Like what are you kind of looking to do to get in front of new audiences here, like in November once you guys launch?
Yeah, we just want to tell our story. We think we have a really cool story with how we made the product, how we, had the idea. Just like the backbone of the business is my wife and I and her health issues. That's really what supported this whole entire business to begin with. So our goal is to really just tell our story online as much as we can and launch.
That's awesome. So, but in terms of like launching online, like is it gonna, are you gonna run like paid ads or like focus like on organic first? Like what is, so because like your background, like I mentioned, I believe was in that space, and I believe your other company is also in the e-commerce space, correct? So I'm like, yeah, I mean, what's kind of your go-to-market in terms of like paid versus organic and things like that?
Yeah, we're not running our paid ads for at least a year or two. We really want to, like I'm a big fan of earned media. Just like going out there and really, being raw in front of the camera and just telling a story. And then once you build some kind of brand affinity and brand recognition, then you go out there and run paid ads because then, your CPMs are going to be a lot lower as opposed to just pure top of funnel awareness, trying to capture that customer. It's hard now because there's so many, it's never been easier to start a company, but it's also never been hard to scale the company. To really scale a company now, you have to have brand awareness, but organically. You can't go out there and just pay for your customers now. Like before you could have done that. In 2018, 2019, when I had my last e-commerce startup, it could be so easy to go into Facebook and put $1 into the marketing machine and get out 4 or 5. Now you can't do that. After the iOS update, it kind of ruined everybody's chance of doing that. So now you have to really go out there and build a business through pure organic awareness. So that's what we're trying to do.
Makes sense. And I guess like with your other company, it's also an e-commerce company. So yeah, I'm curious about that and kind of how that plays into what you're doing now with Binge.
Yeah, so my other company before this, I started before the pandemic. It was around 2018. It was basically a reusable gas glove. And it was made of silicone, so I was trying to do my part in like reducing plastic pollution. And I noticed every time I would go to the gas station, I would see either my dad or my friends or somebody, they would cover their hands with whether it's a receipt or a throwaway plastic glove. And they would also, clean their hands with hand sanitizer afterwards. So I'm like, okay, let me create a solution to this. And that solution was Pump Pal. And essentially it's a reusable gas glove. It stores in your car's gas compartment. And, it's a one size fits all, one hand only, use it forever. So that was my first taste of e-commerce. With that product, I think in my first year, I sold about 200,000 gloves. So I knew, I had a business there. And then eventually I just had a passion for e-commerce. I loved it. I loved the direct to consumer. I love how fast it is. I love scaling that business. And then it kind of gave me a little bit of insights on how to build a business online. When I started this business with my wife, I knew what to do. I knew where to go. I knew what kind of metrics to look for. And yeah, that's what led me into where I am now.
So with the gloves, do you guys still run that business or do you sell it? Or I guess where's that kind of?
Yeah, I still have that business. It's almost what's helping me support myself now and support this business as well.
And I guess for that company, do you sell mostly on direct to consumer, Amazon, or what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, it's mostly direct to consumer. Amazon's definitely our biggest play.
That's awesome. So I guess in terms of Binge, I mean, obviously, like many, grocery products or CPG products are more eventually going to be like in retail. And retail is still where most Americans are buying their CPG products. Obviously, once you launch, get that DTC locked in. Where do you kind of see this product from the retail side of things? Or do you even want to go retail at all? Like, do you see it like in Target or more premium? Or like, what does that kind of look like?
Yeah, well, I think retail is always the play here, you know? It's just like to really build enterprise value for your company. The only way, like retail has to be the play. Like there's only so much so far you go direct to consumer. So yeah, the goal is to definitely go retail. Definitely want to be in big box, club. Would love to be in some natural channels. So we'll see. You know, there's no playbook. You know, it's you just have to see what's good for your brand. And there's so many different avenues to go. Like so many different people could pull you in so many different ways. You just got to figure out what's good for your brand. You know, we've already spoke to a few retailers, and when we launch, we don't want to make the mistake that a lot of star brands do, where they just try to be everywhere at the same time. You know, we want to really conquer one region, one retailer for the first year or two, and then branch outwards. Whether the retailer is going to be Target, whether it's Whole Foods, whether it's Walmart, whichever one it is, we want to stay put, conquer that retailer, conquer that region, and then expand outwards, and then eventually, be everywhere, which is the goal.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think it's people trying to spread themselves too thin and, they have too many products or they're trying to, do too many things at once. And I think the value that you can provide to your customers and, especially one area at a time or one store at a time, there's a lot of potential there for your products. I guess like on that note, right, if we're going to have this conversation again, in 1 year from now, where do you see things going for your business?
So that's a hard question to answer. But I mean, in 1 year, we'd definitely love to be in retail. Like, we'd love to start exploring our first retailer. We have a good idea of which one we want to get into. We'll see how that goes. Definitely in 1 year, we want to be in retail.
That's awesome. That's exciting. So if you could go back in time to before you started this company or even before you became an entrepreneur with your previous company or with your current company, with the glove company, what is like the one biggest piece of advice that you wish you knew?
Ask for help sooner. Ask for help sooner. When I first started my business, I always thought asking for help is a sign of weakness. You know, we always have this like idea in our mind that if we ask for help, people are going to think that we don't know what we're talking about. We don't know what we're doing. Listen, I talk to guys doing $50 million a year and they still don't know what they're doing and they're still asking for help, So if I knew that sooner, I would have asked a lot sooner. And I think my first like 3-4 years in business, I didn't want to ask anybody for help. I was so scared to just show signs of weaknesses or show people that I don't know what I'm talking about. And I didn't. But it's I don't know where we get this illusion in our minds that if we ask for help, it makes us seem weak. It's actually the opposite. So that's something I would definitely tell my younger self is like ask for help from day one.
Good advice. So if somebody watching this wanted to reach out to you or I guess wanted to follow the Binge Snacks journey, do you mind sharing your social media, website, things like that?
Yeah, so right now we only have a wait list, but the website is bingesnacks.com. Our Instagram is eat.bingesnacks and same thing for TikTok.
Thanks so much for your time today.
All right, man. Thank you.